An ESPN reporter, David Hale, has come in to correct a record about Stetson Bennett. And I think he's right here. And it's it has gotten kind of old. But let me read you what David Hale, an old reporter who covered the Dogs for a little bit of time, what he had to say. So the discussion surrounding Stetson Bennett, even after winning the national championship last year, has grown more than tiresome. It is true that Bennett wasn't a star recruit and doesn't have an elite arm and probably doesn't have a serious NFL future. It is also true that he benefited from a genuinely great defense that routinely put him in position to succeed. But Georgia's offense was hardly laden with superstars last year. Truth. And Bennett's numbers, 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, speak for themselves. On paper, a hip hop musical about Alexander Hamilton, a TV show about a paper company in northeastern Pennsylvania, and a tiered ranking of 131, tired too, David, ranking of 131 quarterback situations shouldn't work either. Yet here we are. Stop picking Bennett apart and just enjoy the ride. The last sentence is generally speaking what Georgia fans should do. Stop picking Bennett apart and just enjoy the ride. But David, this is what we do, right? I mean, we can't. We have to do what we do. And if you're in the business of watching quarterbacks and watching football, shaking pom poms like a lot of folks on here, typing out, hunting and pecking on message boards. Just kidding, guys. Then the starting quarterback and the backup are complete fair game in the world that I've lived in for 20 plus years. But he is correct. It just works, and it works right now. It didn't work great in 2020. It worked okay for a while, but in 2021 was when Stetson came alive, like Peter Frampton, right? Um, he became. I mean, this pass in the Missouri game. Look at this picture. This is when he got. They didn't call. They didn't call a late hit for that, I don't think. But Stetson played well the entire season, with the exception of the Florida game. I mean, I don't think he played nearly as bad as people are acting in the Alabama game, the first one. In the second Alabama game, he played great. Hey, big announcement on Sunday, but I am going to have to reorder books very soon. You want to get in on that now. Get your orders in now. Um, David's job at ESPN is to write, from a 40,000 foot level. I think he's the guy that recaps the weekend every single weekend. I read it most of the time. I mean, I know David, but it is always curious to get the national perspective on things. And it has gotten kind of tiring with the constant bickering about Stetson Bennett. I wonder if folks at Oklahoma complained this much about Josh Heupel when he was the quarterback there, because it's not dissimilar. The difference being that Heupel won the Heisman, um, but he was not a magical quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. He had no real future in the NFL. I mean, he did what he did. And I was watching something on TikTok. If you're not following us on TikTok, you're missing out, okay? It's Dog Post TikTok. That's a place that we have very quick takes and so forth. But I was watching something that Aaron Murray was saying. There was a discussion on a program that Aaron was on about Stetson being a top five quarterback in the SEC. Like, what? Bryce Young and then Hooker, I guess. Go look at Hooker's statistics. They're better than Stetson's. They're not so much better than Stetson's. I mean, they're really not. I mean, I would take Stetson personally. Hooker is a very listen. I think those three are good quarterbacks for sure. And you don't want to talk about the quarterback in Kentucky. Um, you know, if we're talking about physical tools, I'm not sure Stetson is in the top 25. But quarterback is not like any other position in sports, perhaps with the exception. I got Kirby calling me again. Uh, Perhaps with the exception of pitcher, where you don't have to, where you have to pitch, not just throw. And his ability to be comfortable at quarterback for Georgia has been um, really in 2021 exceptional. He did an amazing job of steadying the ship the entire way. I do think Bryce Young is, I mean, clearly more gifted physically, and I think he's probably a better quarterback than Stetson. But what Bryce Young did in Indianapolis was prove that a quarterback exclusively is not going to get it done for you. You need someone who will not make mistakes. You need someone who has, honestly, a little more help around him in the run game. That was not unbelievable for Alabama. But yeah, if you were starting your program or your NFL franchise, you'd start with Bryce Young. I don't think there's much doubt about that. The question comes after that is who do you go with in the league? And frankly, besides the guy from Kentucky and Hooker at so Levis at Kentucky and Hooker at Tennessee, I mean, I'm not sure what we're talking about. Stetson's the I don't I he's not a villain, right? But he's easy for people to hate for some reason, the likes of which I'm not quite sure. Is it because he's a walk-on? Is it because he's small? Is it the hair? I get hating on the hair, man. We got some serious lettuce on that dome. But I think what we do is we get into we get into our holes, we get into our narratives, and we can't let go. And rather than just saying what it was or is at that moment, um, we 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 are so firm in our position. In 2020, Stetson was the right guy until he was not the right guy. In 2021, JT Daniels was the right guy until Stetson proved he was the right guy. Um, I think that's really it. And the difference between the coaches at Georgia and me, or David, or anybody that does this for a living is they get to see it about 20 hours a week that we don't. And unless the 3 hours and a little bit on Saturday so disrupts, there's someone ordering DAWGSTRUCTION, thank you very much. Unless the 3 hours on Saturday um, is so awful that it doesn't matter what happened in the other 20 hours of the week. There's no reason not to believe in what the coaches are doing or saying. There was a time when there was a lot of confusion at Georgia in terms of the quarterbacks and why isn't JT Daniels playing? And it got to the point by the certainly Tennessee game, okay? That was later in the year that it was obvious to me that the right person was Stetson. And what I mean by that is I remember very clearly, I've talked about this a few times. This throw was great to James Cook. And this is playing quarterback. The throw was great. Yeah, it was. But he had the throw he wanted and he executed it. Well, that's playing quarterback. Okay. But there came a time I remember very clearly. I was getting stuff down, getting ready for Christmas, and I was talking, I think to Matt or Dylan or Ryan, I can't remember. And I said to them because we were talking about the quarterbacks, and it was off air, and I said, well, I wouldn't change the quarterback now. No. Now after the Florida game, I was like, he's got to play better. I said that about Jake Fromm after the LSU game in 2018. I would not have pulled Jake Fromm at that moment. But David's point here is that the discussion surrounding Stetson Bennett has grown tiresome. There is no one in college football right now besides Stetson Bennett who has been the starting quarterback for a national championship football program. That person doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that Stetson won't get replaced in 2022. That doesn't mean there won't be another person that wins the national championship. That doesn't mean Stetson's the best quarterback. But what it does mean is that when the shit came down and it was time to do it, it was Stetson with 4 straight throws. They did not run the ball. It was 4 straight throws and a couple pass interferences that got them down the field. He took a sack, and then he hit A.D. Mitchell over the top. Georgia took the lead and did not look back. The next drive, this is all going on memory. The next drive, Georgia forces an Alabama punt. Here comes the Dogs. Touchdown throw to Brock Bowers. Now, it was an easy throw. But if I saw Brock Bowers just chilling out on the opposite side and he had 2 people to beat and the Georgia receiver whipped somebody's ass, yeah, I'd have thrown it to Brock Bowers too. He got the job done when he had to. And Bryce Young's a better quarterback. But when Bryce Young had to get the job done, he threw a pick 6 to Keely Ringo. Not hating. Not hating. It's about what you do when you have to do it. Okay? That's what's going on. And with what David's saying, he's not saying we can't criticize Stetson. But he's right. There's so much eagerness to get Stetson out of there by I don't think it's not Georgia fans exclusively. It's just everybody. They're kind of whatever. It's a good situation that Georgia's in. And when that situation is no longer good, I can assure you that Kirby Smart and his infinite wisdom will change it because that's what he does. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the website.